Hello and welcome to NewsClick's Daily Roundup. I'm Apurva.
And I'm Prashant, and here are the major stories for the day.
Tensions rise in West Asia as US mobilizes forces, understanding the impact of war on India's oil supply. New Triple Talaq Bill introduced in Lok Sabha. TDP in crisis, 4 Rajya Sabha members join BJP. 20,000 garment industry workers living in appalling conditions. Privacy activist Ola Bini released on bail.
We begin today's bulletin with the situation in West Asia, which is deteriorating rapidly amid reports that the US was on the verge of launching missile strikes on Iran. According to the New York Times, US President Donald Trump sanctioned strikes on Iranian radar and missile facilities, but pulled back at the last minute. It is unclear if this was just the US flexing its muscles or the prelude to a full-fledged war, but this is scant consolation for the people of the region and the rest of the world. The incident was in the aftermath of Iran shooting down a US drone off its territorial waters the day before. Iran claimed that the drone had entered its airspace, while the US insisted that it was in international waters. Whatever be the case, this was yet another instance that brought the two countries close to a conflict. Similar incidents had occurred with the attacks on tankers in May and June. The situation in the Persian Gulf in West Asia is slowly moving towards a point of no return. The US has assembled a naval force, bombers, and is deploying more troops to strengthen its presence in the region. This is in addition to the crippling economic sanctions that are steadily destroying the Iranian economy. Donald Trump seems to believe that this will pressure Iran into accepting negotiations on his terms, that is, the complete dismantling of Iran's nuclear and military capacity. There are also those in Trump's administration, such as John Bolton, who have been calling for a war on Iran for over a decade. As far as Iran is concerned, this aggression by the US leaves it with little space to even think about negotiations. This is clear from Iranian Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei's statements in recent times, which dismiss the option in the light of the US withdrawing from the nuclear deal. Unlike in 2003, when the US invaded a weakened Iraq, this new war Bolton seems keen on is not likely to go well for the US. Iran is a much larger country with a stronger military, and it has a very strategic hold on the world's oil supply. Iran has threatened to close down the Strait of Hormuz, which is the most significant oil choke point in the world. The conflict also assumes significance in the light of the global oil supply. The global oil choke points show that 20% of global oil flow take place through the Straits of Hormuz. And India is one of the countries which is likely to suffer from this conflict, as 70 to 80% of India's oil comes from the Strait of Hormuz to countries in the region. In addition to Iran, India's main sources of import include Iraq, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Kuwait. Thus, we have seen that Iran has the ability to close the Strait of Hormuz anytime it wants. It has also explicitly stated that if prevented from using the strait, it will close it. If a war breaks down between the US and its allies, including Israel, Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Iran, it will have devastating consequences for both sides. The impact on the region, as well as the global economy, will be massive. Iran's allies, by the way, the Houthis in Yemen, have recently struck important infrastructure and installations belonging to the allies of the US. Drone hits have been reported on the Jizan airport, as well as a Saudi desalination plant. The drones appear to be upgraded and are possibly supplied by Iran. Military action against Iran will see strikes from Yemen on Saudi infrastructure intensify. If Israel comes into the picture, Hezbollah will also be drawn into the conflict. Hezbollah is reported to have around 2 lakh rockets that could potentially cause serious damage in Israel. Any war involving Iran would lead to a massive rise in crude oil prices. In such a scenario, it would not be hard to imagine prices going to as much as US $300 per barrel, sparking a global recession. Thus, the results of the war on Iran could be disastrous for all concerned. We now return to national news.
For our first story, we're going to be talking about the Triple Talaq. A fresh bill to outlaw the Muslim practice of a man divorcing his wife instantly by uttering talaq thrice, which got stalled in the upper house of parliament and lapsed, was introduced in the Lok Sabha today. The Muslim Women Protection of Rights on Marriage Bill 2019 will replace an ordinance issued in February by the previous BJP-led NDA government. The bill had failed to clear the Rajya Sabha test earlier. Here is what Brinda Karat of the CPIM said on the issue.
See, the CPIM opposes this bill which has been placed by the Modi government in Parliament, which is called the Muslim Women's Protection of Rights on Marriage Bill. Because in fact this has nothing to do with the rights of Muslim women. This bill, the government claims, is a result of the Supreme Court judgment, which was a very correct and good judgment which we had welcomed, which says that a particular form of divorce used by Muslim men in India called Talaq Bill, which means instant and irrevocable arbitrary talaq, talaq, talaq 3 times. So the Supreme Court has held that this is completely illegal. Once the Supreme Court has held that this is completely illegal, after that judgment, if any man pronounces such 3 talaq, it has no meaning in law. So basically that means that is a desertion of the man to the woman. So a deserted woman in India has many rights. She has rights to residence under the Domestic Violence Bill, because this is a form of violence. Therefore, she will have right to residence if she goes under that act. A Muslim woman will have right to maintenance under the maintenance laws and the specific law for maintenance granted under that special law at the time of the Shah Bano case. And if there is any violence associated with it, she has recourse to the laws against violence. As far as children are concerned, minor children are concerned, there are umpteen Supreme Court judgments which are precedents for a Muslim woman to have right to custody of minor children. Therefore, this bill is actually nothing to do with the rights of Muslim women. This bill has everything to do with a very narrow and sectarian agenda of the Modi government to send a message to the Muslim community that they have the power over the Muslim community to send any man they wish to jail. Now, if desertion is to be a crime, then all men who desert their wives should face the same criminal law. At present in India, all these issues come under the civil laws. So if it comes under the civil law for a non-Muslim man who is deserting his wife, then why should it come under a criminal law for a Muslim man who is deserting his Muslim wife? So you can't have double standards. But you can have double standards if, as the Modi government wants, you have a separate agenda, which is to humiliate and hold power over the minority community. And therefore, while the CPIM is totally against instantaneous, arbitrary, and irrevocable 3 talaq based divorce and welcomes the Supreme Court judgment, we cannot support this particular bill in Parliament because it criminalizes what should be a civil issue, is a civil issue, and should come under the civil laws.
On to our second story. Janata Dal secular leader H.D. Devegowda on Friday claimed that midterm polls will be held in Karnataka. Congress said they will support us for 5 years, but their behavior hasn't been in line with this promise. Our people are smart, they are watching them, Devegowda said. The former Prime Minister's comments came amid simmering differences between the Janata Dal Congress coalition in Karnataka. Just a day ago, a news report by The Hindu claimed that the BJP central leadership has given clearance to the state unit to woo ruling MLAs. The next story, the TDP seems to be in deep crisis after 4 of its Rajya Sabha MPs joined the BJP. The 4 MPs, Y. Sujana Chaudhary, T.G. Venkatesh, C.M. Ramesh, and Garikapati Ram Mohan Rao, all industrialists, joined the BJP on Thursday. The TDP has a total of 6 MPs in the upper house of parliament. With this shift, the Saffron Party will be looking to make a push to ratify several contentious bills stuck in the upper house. The BJP-led NDA currently holds 106 seats, including the 4 TDP MPs, which is 18 short of a majority in the 245-member house. Meanwhile, the Congress-led UPA has 66 seats, and the parties not aligned with either NDA or UPA have 66 seats. There are currently 9 vacant seats in the Rajya Sabha. Moving on, the garment workers in the past few decades in India have emerged as a major garment exporter and have been integrated into the global garment supply chain. Let's take a look at NewsClick's field report on how 20,000 garment workers in Udyog Vihar, Haryana are surviving in miserable living conditions.
कंपनी में काम करने जाते हैं तो कंपनी से 8,500 9,000 रुपये सैलरी मिलते है, हमको 7,000 रुपये क्यों देता है ठेकेदार? 500 खा ले कम से कम 8,000 रुपये दे हमको, 6,000 रुपये में क्या करेंगे? 6,000 भी देता है तो हिसाब के टाइम में काट पीट के पूरा महीना ड्यूटी करेंगे तो 9,000 रुपये कमाएंगे। 9,000 रुपये में हम कमरा किराया 4,000 रुपये कमरा किराया भरेंगे, 4 बच्चे क्या चीज़ से पालेंगे हम हैं?
Delhi region, including NCR and UP, Haryana is one of the largest industrial hub in the world. It is the second largest hub for global garment production. It has pulled in thousands of migrant workers from all over India to various manufacturing and service sectors.
828 ग्रेड है ना सरकार का, वो ग्रेड है ये डेली बेस है तो कम से कम 300 कुछ रुपए पेश पड़ते हैं, 324 रुपया पड़ता है ये
रेट है, और वो आप नहीं दे रहे हो, आप काम करवा रहे हो। हम
काम कर रहे हो तब कंपनी देगी, तब तो कंपनी 280 रुपये मांग रही है।
नहीं मैंने कुछ बोलना चाहती, अपना आराम करो, अपने ढंग रखो, पैसा वही खाती है तो बोलेगी कहाँ से?
Again, they were exploited by giving 12 rupees per unit of electricity instead of rupees 3. And landowners charge water bill for the borewell connection and several other rules to maintain the society clean.
बताएं इसको गुजारा को, अब क्या कर सकते हैं हम? गुजारा कैसे चला सकता है? यहाँ पर देश है।
We now return to international news. Privacy activist and software developer Ola Bini, who was in an Ecuadorian prison for 70 days, walked out free on Thursday night after the Provincial Court of Justice in Pichincha accepted the writ of habeas corpus requested by him. Bini, a Swedish citizen, was being held in preventive detention, although the Ecuadorian Attorney General had not formalized any charges against him or presented any evidence. However, he will not be allowed to leave Ecuador until he proves his innocence. He will also have to report to a police station every week. The decision by the court to accept the habeas corpus was celebrated by activists in Ecuador and around the world who had rallied around Ola Bini in his fight for freedom. Since his arrest on April 11th, Bini's case has been marred by violations and irregularities. Human rights defenders and privacy activists have also denounced the political nature of Ola Bini's detention. On May 29th, an Ecuadorian judge denied Bini bail, despite his case not meeting any of the requirements to not grant him bail. The judge argued that because the Attorney General had not estimated the damage done by Bini or pressed official charges against him, it would be impossible to fix a bail amount. Bini was prohibited from being physically present in the hearing and had to participate through video conference. Here,
they don't have any legal rights to stop me. There is no legal right to stop me from talking to the press. They're trying to censor me. We will prevail. We will prevail. I want to thank the people of Ecuador. I want to thank everyone in the world. I want to thank my team, everyone for believing in me. Today, we have proven my innocence for the first time and we will continue to prove my innocence. I want to thank the judges for showing what we've been saying the whole time, that this process has been illegal and that I was illegally detained. And I want to say my heartfelt thanks and for all the support and love from my parents and my family and everyone out there. Thank you, everyone.
Chinese President Xi Jinping concluded his two-day visit to North Korea, with the two countries agreeing to strengthen ties. According to the North Korean state media, the country's leader Kim Jong-un said the talks were an important opportunity for the allies to demonstrate their invincible and unchangeable friendship. While the statements are routine, the context in which these meetings held was anything but. The meeting took place after the failure of the Hanoi summit between Trump and Kim Jong-un in February. China is one of the countries which has been slowly encouraging a stabilization of the situation in the Korean Peninsula, even as the US has been wildly swinging between aggression on one hand and expressing interest on peace on the other. Xi Jinping is scheduled to meet Trump soon on the sidelines of the G20 summit, and this could be a fresh channel to reopen negotiations between the US and North Korea. This is, of course, assuming that we already don't have a war in our hands in West Asia. We now move on to sports news. The International Olympic Committee on Thursday removed all restrictions on India with regard to hosting international sports competitions and events. NewsClick Sports Desk discusses the nature of the ban and what its removal means for Indian sport.
So for our rapid sports update today, we have the news of the International Olympic Committee revoking the provisional ban placed on India from hosting international events. This has happened after the government gave them a written guarantee saying they will give visas to all athletes from all other nations. Just to recap, this ban had come into place after India had denied visas to two Pakistani shooters who had come for who were supposed to come for the Shooting World Cup held in Delhi. This was in the immediacy of the Pulwama bombings. Earlier last year, they had also not given visas to a Kosovan boxer for the boxing world championships. India does not recognize Kosovo as an independent country. So Les, good news for Indian sport. No ban anymore.
What ban? That's the point actually, what ban? Because just now, like 2 weeks back, we hosted a Olympic qualifier hockey event in Bhubaneswar, successfully hosted that way because India qualified for the next round of Olympic qualifiers as such. So when an Olympic event is happening in the country at the period where the supposed ban was happening, then that is intriguing in a way. But yeah, the International Hockey Federation is headed by Narendra Batra and he has been in the forefront for revoking this ban. So you can understand how these international sporting politics work. It's very perplexing, it's very murky. So frankly, I don't understand what ban we are talking about.
That's all we have time for today. To read and watch more about these stories, visit our website newsclick.in and follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter and Instagram.
Thank you for watching.